You're listening to the Whoa Podcast
with Laura
and Lenina, where we talk about what's on your mind
right now. As always, your dynamic duo is here.
Hello.
I'm Laura.
And Lenina.
We have a great guest here. Say hi.
Howdy.
Liz Miele is talking to us. She just said howdy. She's a stand-up comedian from New York City. Her first album, called Emotionally Exhausting, is available now on iTunes, Amazon, and cdbaby.com.
Miele?
Miele, yeah. But whatever
like
comes
my
out.
name. That's like mine.
Really? How do you
I'm Laura Miele.
Oh, wow. That's so similar.
And you're Liz Miele.
Yeah. Are you like 100% Italian? Any percent Italian?
I was born here, but everything in the, my parents and them are all
Yeah.
Italian.
Yeah.
So,
I'm like 100%. It's like
You were born there?
No, but my mom is like, what, first generation?
Mm-hmm.
Was it when their parents are... Yeah, so my mom's first generation. I think my dad's second generation.
Yeah.
But it's like we all look like Danny DeVito. Like we're all just tiny Danny DeVitos. but it's funny because like when I was in Europe performing, people would say my last name the way it's supposed to be pronounced. But it's like you just Americanize things. So when people mispronounce my name here, I don't correct them because I'm mispronouncing my name. Like we've Americanized our name.
So what's the proper pronunciation?
I think it's like Miele. Like it's something like you have to do something with your hands.
Yeah,
no, you have to hold a meatball. Like it's just, but I'm not gonna say it that way, and I'm not gonna. So if I'm not correcting people on how to actually say it, then why would I correct people when they say it not the fake way that we say it? Like it's just, to me, it just doesn't make sense.
Oh man. Well, my first name too. Like even when I went to Italy, everyone called me Laura.
Oh, I like
And
it.
so I like it too, and I made it my Twitter name, like Laura Vision. No one gets it, but
like
maybe they will now.
But doesn't that make you sad where you're like, I could have such like a flowery, fun name, but nobody's going to say it right, so I can't. Like, we're just all going to be named like Snickers, and it's just going to have to be that way.
Like Laura.
Yeah.
Or Lenina.
Lenina's a beautiful name.
I know. Yours is just
thank
naturally
you.
nice. It's not fair. What's your last name?
Mortimer.
Okay, that takes it down a notch.
Tell her your middle name. Tell her your middle name.
My middle name is Marley,
That works.
as in Bob.
It's still nice.
I think it's like Marley and Me.
Yeah, I mean...
As in the dead
sad.
dog?
That's sad.
Yeah, I mean, and all the dead dogs.
Oh, man.
Spoiler. Oops. Oopsies. So you mentioned your European tour.
Yeah.
What was it called?
It was called the Mad Countries Tour.
You're very New York. I love it.
I grew up in Jersey, but I think just it's close enough, and I've been here for 11 years, that it just all becomes one. I'm mean enough that I probably could have been from here.
So funny. You live here now,
Yeah, I've been here 11 years.
and you're a stand-up comedian. How does that work?
How does it work? I mean, I think if you're going to come here, you either have to be, like, really badass or have some kind of, like, humor. I think that's your only way of surviving New York City. Because all my friends now are like, as soon as they find a way to get out, they're like, this isn't a life. They're like, this isn't worth living in a box with all my friends that also live in boxes. But
To be a comedian?
not even just be a
Or
comedian. I mean,
New
like,
York?
New York. I mean, to be a comedian, you do kind of whatever it takes to survive. And I mean, I'm fortunate that I live deep enough into Brooklyn, and I like my roommates, and I actually have like a place that's, I mean, we're moving soon, but I've liked my place for a while. But like, to me, this is where comedy is, so you do whatever it takes to be here. But I wouldn't live here if comedy wasn't here. Like I always say, like I would live in North Carolina if that's where comedy was. I don't really care that much where I live, but this is where comedy is, so you make it work. But like all my friends are leaving. Like all my friends are like, especially after college, if you don't need to be in New York, it's just not.
New York City's expensive.
It's expensive and it's unforgiving. You know what I mean? So you have this crappy winter that we've been having. We started getting hurricanes a couple of years ago. The rent goes up every year. It doesn't matter what's happening. Subway hikes. Like every year, it's like 5 extra things that wasn't the year before. And it's like, if you're not making the money and you don't have a good like friend base, it's like, why are you here?
I know the solution.
Okay,
we have
let's
to
hear it.
vote for that guy, the rent is too damn high guy.
Yeah, what's his name?
I don't know, but he got kicked out of his apartment because his rent was too high. He got evicted. You know about this guy?
No.
He like ran for office. It was hilarious.
He ran for mayor. Yeah. and
Yeah.
On the platform, rent is too damn high. That was his platform.
Well, what's so funny about that is like it's almost like Pizza Wednesdays. You know what I mean? Like I agree with him, and yeah, I would like pizza on Wednesday, but you got to have more than that. Like you can't just be like rent's too high. Everything's too high, if we're really honest.
Yeah.
I have a theory about like New York City, dating in New York City, and cohabitating, and how we do it so quickly because hey, we'd like to split the rent and just to make the cost of living go down. And
Absolutely.
so that's one of the things I think about. I'm like, a lot of my friends, they just, the one day they're like dating casually, and the next they're like, oh yeah, so we're moving in together, and I'm like, oh, so it's serious.
Which is a horrible idea. Like we have to already have kids together before I move in with somebody. Like I will never do that again because it kills you. And then because I had like a roommate that I lived with forever, and then I moved in with this dude, and it didn't work out. Like 6 months in, I was leaving, like didn't work out, and I was just kind of homeless for a while. And then to find more people to live with, like now I've lived with my roommates now 3, 4, and 5 years, and to me it's like, until I get married and or die, these are the people I'm living with. Like, I mean, because I guess I could pretend like I'm gonna get rich someday, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. So I think death is probably gonna happen quicker. But to me, like, I don't want to take the risk anymore of being like, maybe it'll work out and we could split rent, because that homelessness and not having somebody to live with afterwards is horrible when you don't have the money to live by yourself. And I'm not going to do the Craigslist thing. I just can't. I've heard too many horror stories. I'd rather be borderline homeless than live with somebody that's just going to make my life, because that's my home. I don't want to come home and be like scared or not like somebody or like. I get it. It's the worst. Yeah. So the fact that I've gotten along with these two people for so long, it's like I'm married to them. I'm never letting them go. I hope
they're married to your cat as well.
Of course. I mean, they feed it, so that's pretty much how that works.
Yeah.
And your cat's name is
Pasta.
Pasta.
Aww. Told you, Danny DeVitoing it. Very Italian.
You two ladies are both single.
Yes. I didn't know that, but
sorry. Oh, yeah. I am. I'm very single.
I like how she threw you under the bus. She's like, I'm married, but you guys, a mess.
No, I did not mean it like that. I just think you have something in common, because I listened to your CD called Emotionally Exhausting, available now.
Yeah. Nice segue. I won't be upset about the single plug.
So I listened to your CD, and you were talking a lot about being single in New York and dating and all this, and I was like, I see this girl every day.
I'm online dating, and I feel like I've been on every single one of those websites. Yeah. Every single one.
Have you had any luck with any of them?
I went on really good dates with decent men, just no second dates.
Okay, but on what site?
My latest is Tinder.
Really?
Yes.
Isn't it weird that it started as like a sex site and now people are like, I'm trying to find love on Tinder?
Right.
I find it super weird. I did match, like this is years ago, I did match for a little while, but everybody was like a divorced dude that wanted to get married again. And I was like, what? And so I did OkCupid. I dated a dude off OkCupid for like a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, good dude. I mean, it didn't work. I mean, I tried breaking up with him like 3 times. Not because he was a bad dude, just because I was like, I don't miss you when I leave. That seems like a big sign.
That's kind of important.
But when I would see him, he was awesome. We had a lot of fun. But then I would leave, and it was like I was single again. Not that I was doing anything. I just didn't think about him or miss him. And I was like, this seems to be like a sign. But we're friends, and he was a good dude, and I'm glad we dated. But like, I don't know. There was something like deeply missing. But I mean, I think online dating has its place, but I also feel like anything in life, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. Sure. And I've actually had more success with just kind of saying yes to people. Not anybody, because I get a lot of crazies doing stand-up, but like I don't really like New Year's Eve, but I went to a friend cooked for me and my roommate, and we hung out with her until like 1 a.m. And then I went and hung out with another friend at a bar until like 5 a.m. And I don't drink, so I was just at a bar drinking tea, and I kind of like smoked pot with my friend, but I wasn't really doing anything. And I left, and the next day I got a phone call from the bouncer, and he was like, "Hey, your friend gave me your number."
Creepy.
And he was really nice, and we were hanging out because it was after hours, and I was like, yeah. And he was like, I just want to see if I could take you out. And I was like, keep in mind, no heads up. My friend didn't tell me. Of course, as soon as I was like, I literally was like, well, and
the
I finally
Law and Order theme song is playing in my head right now.
I finally agreed. I agreed to low expectations coffee because I told him I had just broken up with my boyfriend, and that I was leaving for Europe in like 2 weeks. And I was like, I just don't. So we ended up having low expectations sushi. And he was a nice guy. I'm actually glad I went on a date with him. I wasn't interested in anything more, but I'm glad I talked to him. He wasn't just a bouncer. He owned his own company. He used to be a social worker. Like, it was kind of like a cool, like, you can't judge a book by its cover. He looked like a linebacker, but he was like the sweetest, nicest guy. I didn't feel anything.
Him. Yeah.
But like this, I just was telling her I made out with a teacher who, like, I talked at his feminism class like twice, and then I was supposed to do it again, but I couldn't because I was on tour, and then we just ended up emailing, and then he was like, "Can I take you on a date?" And I was like, "Well, you seem to respect women, so let's do this." I was like, "I don't think you could teach that class and then be a douchebag."
That's one of the criteria.
Yeah. I was like, "Let's try it."
Oh, that's cool.
But I've been better because I realized that I kind of like, I don't know if you do this, but I project like 4 years in the future after meeting every person.
What?
Oh, we're already divorced.
Look.
When we divorce, who'll get the cat? Does he like cats? Maybe
Exactly.
not.
You didn't raise this cat. I raised this
Oh
cat.
my God. I'm recovering from that.
From
like projecting into the future to like, do I see myself standing next to him?
Yeah.
You know, when I'm at the altar and all that.
I mean,
like,
girls.
Does he look good in a suit? You know,
Yeah,
things like that.
exactly.
And I'm like, nah. That's
As a girl,
crazy.
you have a hard time not writing his last name next to your name, like after he like.
Yeah,
Dude,
Laura, I'm telling you.
And I'm not even
I was
like
not like that before I got married.
But
like,
I'm not a marriage person. I actually really don't want to get married, and I'm not like, I weirdly have commitment issues at the same time of wanting to be with somebody, which I'm sure is half my problem. But to me, it's hard not to have 2 facts and try to fill in the other 40 facts with those 2 facts, and that's when it becomes and it becomes dicey. And when I do that, I'm like, nah, it's not gonna work out. What's the point? I'm busy. I'm a busy girl. I don't have time for this.
The wall.
But
the
I've gotten better about being more open, and that's where I've had kind of my better results. Where like I'll start the prejudge, and I'll be like, take it back a notch, take it back.
Less crazy.
I mean, I'm always gonna be 100. I'm very honest about being a crazy person. Like I kind of, and at this point, I can't hide it with like having an album and all my YouTube videos, and like
You're just so public. You have a lot of information out there.
I am Googleably crazy. Like, and I just kind of put it out there. But I also like, I'm aware of it, and I'm working on it, and I've had a better relationships with my friends in the last couple of years because now I could be like, hey, I'm having a bad week. Things are going down. I might not be a good friend, and I might be super bitchy. So just be warned. If you want to put yourself in this zone of bitchiness, this might not be you're not going to get the response you want. And as I preemptively have told that to people, things have gotten better. And I've started doing that like in relationships, and it helps. I mean, as you become aware of being, because there's moments that I'm crazier than other moments, and so sometimes it sneaks up on me. But for the most part, there's usually like a fog that sneaks in.
It builds.
You're such a public figure. How do you handle that and dating, or just personal relationships in general?
I don't know if I feel like I feel bad for the person I'm dating because there'll be a joke. Whether we last or not, a joke will happen. There's a dude that asked me out in a bar, and he's already being infused into a joke because he was so ridiculous. Like, I feel bad for anybody who says anything dumb near me because it will be in a joke very soon. I mean, I worry. I was actually telling my therapist this. I worry about people looking at my public persona and thinking it's my private persona, because even though I write the jokes and they are a part of me and I do believe in what I say, it's still, I call it the Sasha Fierce, conundrum, where it's like there's Beyonce and then she talks about having this Sasha Fierce persona, but you have to be a bigger version of yourself to be a public figure. So, I'm an exaggerated version of myself. Sometimes the person I'm putting on stage is actually a past version of myself, because by the time I finish the joke, that joke has pushed me to a different level of kind of consciousness or awareness that I no longer feel that way, but I had to push through that joke to get there, and now I'm doing the joke. So it's always like kind of looking behind, and you're always kind of looking in the past. And I just don't want to date anybody that thinks, like I have, like on my album, I have a joke about a past boyfriend that he cried a lot. And I wasn't putting him down because I said I cry a lot. But the problem was when he cried and how he cried. And when I was talking to my ex-boyfriend, he told me that joke really affected him, and it made him not want to be vulnerable. And I was like,
wow.
Yeah, and I felt like such a douche. Where I was like, yeah, exactly.
Oh, no.
And I was like, first of all, that was a very specific joke to that dude. It's a kind of an exaggerated joke, but it's also, it has nothing. I want a dude to be vulnerable, and I would never judge anybody for crying, but he was so dramatic, and it made me not want to talk to him. So it was less about him crying, and it was more about, and it made me realize how dramatic I was. And so I even told an ex before that I had to date this dude to understand how difficult it must have been to date me 5 years earlier. And it was like, it was helpful.
So it's a learning process to write for your comedy.
Yeah, but then I also have to realize that if dudes hear this, it affects them. You know what I mean? And
definitely.
I don't want them to feel bad about themselves, and I don't want them to not authentically be themselves in a relationship because they think I'm gonna be a bully. Which maybe
But you gotta write what you know, and so people need to
Hello.
just have
I'm
thick
just saying.
skin.
Because I vlogged about a conversation I had with my dad, and then my dad watched the vlog.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't believe you called me clueless.
Yeah.
I can't believe you said this. I can't believe you
Yeah.
said that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wasn't talking about you. It
exaggerating.
was
Yeah.
just an example
Yeah.
of how men treat street harassment.
Yeah.
So if they don't see it, they don't think it's a problem.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't happen around men as
Yeah.
often.
Yeah, of course.
And so he was reacting to that.
Yeah, if you have a guy next to you, it's very rare that anybody's going to street harass
Exactly.
you. So you probably haven't seen much of it. You might see a dude check out a woman's ass, but you're not seeing a dude street harass anybody because that's not when it happens. It happens when you're alone. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's so funny that they're like, it doesn't seem like that big of a problem. I have an old joke about it where I talk about how I thought a guy I was working with was creepy, and my friend goes, well, he's never been creepy to me. Yeah, of course. Of course he would never be creepy to
He
you.
doesn't want to have sex with you.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to make you feel bad about yourself, but it's not about you, buddy. But that's kind of the stuff where, like, when you do, I reflect on relationships. I reflect on conversations I have with people. I reflect on moments. I always say, I know I'm an angry person, and I know I can't let things go because something that was 10 seconds for me turns into a 3-minute bit. And it's gold, and it's the reason I have a career, but it's also the reason that I am where I am emotionally sometimes, is I don't know how to let things go.
But writing is so helpful in that way. Like I'm writing a script right now, and then I feel like when I write these scenes out, yes, they're describing some people I know, and I'm like, oh no, I hope this person doesn't know I'm writing about them. You know what I mean? Because I'm kind of combining people and like all this, you know. But it's also very helpful to kind of work through that while you're writing it. And so I think, you know, it's fair game, and nobody can get their feelings hurt because it's helping us. I mean, maybe that's selfish. I don't know.
Well, it's funny because I started to because I read a lot, and I'm an avid reader of both nonfiction and fiction. But I started to realize over time that the psychology books I was reading and the fiction books I was reading was all kind of making me understand like the human consciousness and how people process things. So that when I would do my own writing, if I was writing a character or writing even just how somebody might respond to something that I was thinking about, I started to realize that it has made me understand archetypes and how people process things. And it's funny how, like, by seeing that, you go, oh, I probably would respond that way too. And, oh, I could see how that's irrational. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I am this character.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And you pull back, and it does. It helps you kind of grow and be a bigger person. And I always kind of say I feel bad for women that don't have an outlet when it comes to dating sometimes, because I've gotten over dudes. I've understood my place and why things didn't work out. And I've grown as a person because I've had to step back and analyze these relationships, even friendships.
You're so self-aware.
Sometimes.
No. This whole entire conversation, I'm like, yo, this sister's deep.
Yeah, you are.
You just get it. I don't know what that it is, but I get the sense that you get it.
Well, I think when you read psychology, like I took psychology I was going to major in it in college, so I took a bunch of classes. It like makes you think about how other people would react to certain things. When normally we would go about our day and just know how we're reacting to something, you actually, and then in writing too, you have to put yourself in that person's shoes and say, how is what I'm doing affecting them?
Absolutely.
And that makes you realize like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, or I'm a dick, or,
Yeah.
you know, I should get better at this, or I should not do this, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you start to realize that people are different from you, and it seems like everybody knows that, and then nobody knows that all at the same time. Like,
Right.
I had a roommate. She was my roommate for 3 years. She was my best friend, and everybody kept saying, like, Michelle doesn't get back to me. Michelle never wants to hang out. And I was like, she's always around for me, but I lived with her.
Right.
And then when we stopped living together, I experienced all of that. And it took me a long time to realize that she doesn't connect and she doesn't reach out like most people do. So I used to get kind of mad and upset and think that she didn't care about me because she wasn't texting back or she was never asking to hang out. And then it took me about 2 years to be like, oh, but she is. She would send me a funny cat picture because she knows I like cats, or she would tell me a story about work because she knew it would make me laugh. She's not going to ask me to get dinner. She's not going to ask me how I am. She hates small talk, and I've always known that about her. And it took me years to realize, oh, she's reaching out. She wants to hang out. And as I've started to kind of speak her language, she started to open up more, and she started now, like, 10, almost 12 years into our friendship, she's like, we should get dinner. And it's like, to me, it's like I raised a baby. I was like, we should get dinner. But before, you know, you get frustrated when you have to do most of the work. But I started to realize I was thinking I was doing most of the work because I thought this is how everybody should respond, how I respond. And then when I started to see that.
You started using her love language.
Right?
Oh my God.
I love that shit.
Oh my God, yeah, totally. I get it.
Yeah, but
Oh,
it took
man.
me a long time. And this is somebody I knew for a really long time. I lived with her. She was like my best friend. But it was funny how we got into a different situation. I started seeing what other people were talking about, and I started to be like, oh.
So what's your love language?
I like words are really important to me. So like
Words of affirmation.
yeah, like I mean, I don't know if you guys experience this, but like you do something for somebody and they just write back thank you, not enough. Pissed me off. Yeah, pisses me off. But if you're like, oh my, it could be. It's funny how that phrase to a longer phrase can make all the difference.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Fuck yeah. Yeah.
I've
that's
already
what I
got your
want.
thank you email already prepped. I already thank you for telling me this.
But you know what's so funny? But like, have you ever done that? You spent like 20 minutes like doing something for somebody. You didn't have to do it. Nobody was probably doing it for them, and then you just get nothing, or you get like thanks.
Yeah.
Are you serious, man?
I'm like that with
wow.
feedback, with like, because I edit videos, I do things like that. So if I am doing something for someone and then they say, can you change this and can you change that, and I don't like this, and if they only focus on the negative, I'm just like gonna rip my hair out.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
like, oh my God, I hate you.
Yeah.
But like one of my more recent bosses, like Annette, hey Annette, what's up? So she was like super nice this one time, like the first time I did a video for her, like she wasn't an asshole. Like all my other bosses in the past, they're just like, this is wrong and that's wrong. She was like, hey, I really liked all these blah, blah, blah. And she wrote like things that she liked, and thank you for doing this. And then she wrote the things that she didn't like. And I was like,
that's what you're supposed to do.
amazing.
All you have to read is How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I know.
And
Dale
they will tell
Carnegie,
you.
hello.
They will
It's
tell
the
you
most
that
printed
right,
book.
dude. And it's so
After the
simple.
Bible.
It's just it's so simple. And like that's like my dad is a businessman, and my dad's like a very thoughtful person. So for me, I learned a lot of that stuff from my dad. You use people's names. You always thank them. You you always let them know what they did right before you tell them what they did wrong. You know what I mean? And that's I mean that's it sounds weird, but I used to have a hard time making friends and then keeping friends for a long time because I'm crazy. But now I'm still crazy, but I've learned to like take care of people.
Liz, you're in good company for crazy because we all like walk with a
Crazy's
limp.
good.
Like I'm
Yeah.
just telling you right
Crazy
now.
is
It's just
But I read a whole book about the positivity of crazy, and it made me, because my half goals are to destigmatize mental illness, because it's actually a big part of my family and my upbringing. But then also like I'm dyslexic, so like anything that has to do with like disabilities or perceived ideas that this is a shortcoming. So there's a couple books that have come out about it. So like David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell kind of touched on that. And then I read a book called The Dyslexic Advantage, which just talked about the advantages of being dyslexic because you process things differently.
Yeah.
But there was this other book that came out around the same time called A First Rate Madness. And it was basically, the thesis is like in a time of stability, you want somebody that's mentally stable, but in a time of chaos, you want somebody that's mentally ill. And it gave all the benefits of mental illness, which is like resilience and creativity and empathy. And it gives like, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Ulysses S. Grant, Abraham Lincoln. It gives these huge examples of leaders that had mental issues but also did great things for people. But they talk about everybody sees mental illness as this bad thing, but it actually has its benefits because when you go through really dark times and you get out of them, you learn a lot from it and you can appreciate other people that have gone through those issues as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, I probably should get out of the habit of just using a general crazy, but like to me, it's, you've seen some things, you've experienced some things, and you have some residual issues with it, or some collateral damage, let's say.
Yeah, got some scars.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
with those scars, you also, I mean, it's pretty hard to cut that back open. You know what I mean? And so you have some benefits to it. And so that's one of the things that I like kind of talking about and being open about is like, yeah, I have some scars, but I also have some things I've learned from it, and it's not all bad.
And it fuels creativity, for sure.
Absolutely. I also just think, I feel like I struggle with being an adult every day. But like when you see somebody else struggling with being an adult and you kind of are able to help them by showing them like, oh, you'll get through this. Oh, you'll get I'm the second oldest of 5. So I have a little sister I'm really close with and a little brother I'm really close with. And then like my older sister and my other brother, we talk. But like those are the ones that like when I see them going through stuff, especially because we're really similar, we're all the middle kids, it's like, oh shit, I'm like watching them go into a storm and being like, should I give them an umbrella? Should I tell them what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Should I just tell them it's going to be okay? Like you don't know how to guide them, but at the same time, you're like, they'll also get through it, and I know that they're going to come out
Right.
better from
And
it.
it depends what type of person they are. Like,
Yeah.
My little sister, hi Rita, she doesn't ever want to hear this is what I would do, because she'll do the opposite.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, I want to help you, and I want to tell you what you should do so you don't like,
Yeah.
You don't go into this mistake that I did.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's worse.
Yeah. I've learned not to give advice. I've learned to just be empathetic, and that took a long time because I'm very much a dude. My dad like raised me. I'm very much want to fix problems. Oh, you need something's happening with moving, I'll help you move. Like I'm one of those people that's like I can fix it. And I've learned over time that A, that's you can't always do it and it's exhausting, but B, most people don't want it.
Yeah.
But like that's been the hardest thing for me is just to be empathetically there for people.
Yeah.
Oh, that happened to you? I could totally tell you how to make it better, but I'm just going to be over here saying I'm sorry. You know what I mean? That's been my biggest struggle is just being like, you're a train wreck, but I'm just going to let you keep training and just be over here and say sorry.
Yeah. And okay, I got to admit that sometimes I can come off as like I don't care.
Yeah.
But it really is like, okay, well, this is your lesson to learn.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
just, I see it.
Yeah.
Because I've lived this before, but I can't do it. I can't do anything for you.
Yeah.
You have to just learn this yourself.
Yeah, and there's people that ask. Like I've also realized that I didn't want that guidance either, and I've learned to ask more. But I've also learned not to tell anybody anything either, because if you don't want it, you're not gonna listen anyway. So what's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you.
Well, speaking of big sister woes, you have a monthly variety show with your sister. What's her name?
Emily.
Emily. It's on the 4th of the month at Sidewalk Cafe.
Yeah, we just had ours last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for March.
So tell us about the show. It's a variety show. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, so my little sister is a singer-songwriter. Like she went to school for jazz and she makes some money doing jazz singing, but what she does on the side is just like singer-songwriter stuff. She actually wrote and sang the theme song to this animated web series I did last year. But I kind of started it for her because she has a lot of anxiety getting on stage. She's a bigger girl. She was kind of insecure about people like judging her and stuff. And she has such a beautiful voice and she's really talented. So I wanted her to kind of have a safe space. So I started booking a variety show where I host it. And then it's comedy because I know a lot of comedians, magic because I actually know a lot of magicians.
Ooh.
Humble brag. And then music and
She knows mad people.
yeah, I know some people with some cards. And then my sister closes out every show, and it was just something to kind of help support. I mean, she's gotten so much more like she's always been really talented, but I think that stage presence people underestimate how hard that is and how vulnerable that is and scary. And as she's gotten more comfortable on stage, every other part of her has just kind of blossomed. And I can see how it's affected her just as a person and being more confident and stuff. So it was just something, she's like my best friend. So it was just something to do with her, but also to kind of support her. Yeah. And it's cool because it got her more work around the city because there's other variety shows and it got her some paid work. And she's starting to make little fans and people being like, are you on YouTube? And are you? So it makes me happy because I want her to continue to grow. Like she's really, really talented. She makes me cry. Like I'll watch her stuff and I'll be like, she's really good. She sounds like an angel.
Wow. Let's talk a little bit about your career and what you're doing on stage. I want to hear all about that.
I mostly tell dick jokes for money, but
Well, but I see you went to art school. Like, how did you go to art school and become a comedian? Like, how did you figure out this is what you wanted to do?
oh, I started before that. I started when I was 16. So I discovered stand-up when I was like 13, 14 and started writing. And then I got on stage for the first time when I was 16, and I was living in Jersey. So I was just taking New Jersey Transit every weekend. And I did it for the first time, and I just never stopped. I started doing it every weekend, and then I convinced my dad to let me do it Thursday through Sunday when I was a senior, because I was like, I already had gotten into college and I was getting good grades, and I was like, if I'm responsible, why can't I go to the city and tell jokes? And I mean, he didn't know that I was doing drugs and drinking and like making out with boys, and that when I started doing stand-up, I stopped doing all those things. Like, it was kind of one of those things where like I reformed myself. Like, I really became super straight edge, and I was like all about comedy. And then when I got into school, my dad makes me laugh. My dad was like, so you're only going to do it on the weekends, right? And I was like, sure, Dad. And I just started doing stand-up every single night. I would bring my homework and all my writing stuff to, like, people remember me when I was like 17, 18, 19 years old, writing papers and bringing all my school books and doing it in between shows and stuff. I mean, I didn't want to go to college. I didn't really think I needed it. I'm glad I went, mostly because of the friends I made.
Yeah.
But I wish I went to college. I wish I was strong enough to have fought it and went when I was like 24, and I discovered I liked script writing and really got into it. Because I always liked writing, but I didn't know what kind of writing. And people always tell me like I was really fortunate to know what I wanted to do at a young age. But what nobody told me is that nobody makes any money in comedy, and it's super hard. And I've now had to discover what my second passion is, and that's way harder. And so as I discovered how much I like writing and writing scripts and I like doing these web series and all that stuff, I've mostly, because I'm not going back to college and I don't have the time, I've just been self-teaching myself and asking for advice and luckily meeting a lot of people that already do it for a career and getting guidance from them and stuff.
That's what I found so remarkable about you, because you were so young and you're like, I want to do this, but now how do I turn this into a craft? I'm going to write, my favorite stand-up comedians, and, maybe someone will get back to me. I would have never thought of that at, like, any age. Well, now I think of these things, but that's really cool.
I mean, my dad's been a big guide. Like, that's the thing, is like my dad is weirdly supportive and unsupportive all at the same time.
I get it.
So like my dad,
God,
my dad hates that I'm the same size as I've always been. I've always been a tiny woman that travels at night by herself in places she's never been before. So my dad hates it, but at the same time respects that I do it and supports me. My dad gave me a car, you know what I mean? And before that, I borrowed my dad's car every weekend for like 5 years. And eventually I was like, I've put all the mileage and put all the gas in it. I might as well. And so he gave it to me. And I appreciate that, because I was at a place where I was like, I can split a car with you. I was like, that's where I have in my savings. But my dad, when I say I'm going to do something and he sees that I'm going to do it, he goes, okay, well, what do I know that I can help you with? So my dad's a business guy, and he goes, well, for me, and my dad's dyslexic, and he made all his kids dyslexic. It was just some magic he gave to us.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. And so he struggled a lot in vet school and business and starting his own business. So whenever he sees us do something for ourselves, he's like, well, what advice can I give you? And he's like, well, if somebody's doing something better than you, you should ask how they did it.
Yeah,
and so what
awesome.
I do appreciate it is that he was like, if you want to be a comic, then you should write to people that are already doing it and ask their advice.
And so you were mentored by George Carlin.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny, because I use that. I wouldn't ever use that word. People put that word on that.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
mentor.
I read it in the headline
It
somewhere.
is, but it's I wouldn't take it, just like they use the word friendship, and I even was like, he wasn't calling me, telling me about his day.
Yeah.
But I wrote to him when I was 15. He called me, and then from there, and gave me a bunch of advice. And from there, I would write to him every couple of months and keep him in the loop of my process and my progress. And then he gave me free tickets to a show. He sent me signed books. I had lunch with him when I was 19, and and then eventually I had his email, and we had talked a couple of times and emailed every couple of months. And he was just somebody that was really supportive and gave good advice, and just happened to be a legend.
Just
amazing.
Who actually follows up and.
I mean, to me, it was the best lesson to learn, because my family, they're good people. We're weird people, but we're good people. And I was raised to be a good person and to take care of people. And as you get busier, like, I am not important at all, and I am struggling with getting back to people. and getting stuff done. And I mean, I think we're all kind of under this pile of email that just seems so daunting. And so as I get further and actually have some credibility and some experience, people start to ask you for advice. And I was getting to the point where I was like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
But as I see somebody who nobody could be bigger or more overwhelmed with work and stuff that they have to do than him, and he always made time, not just for me, but for other people. And I just kind of keeps me in check that I hope to never think I'm better than not taking care of people, even if I've also came up with systems. Like, people will be like, hey, can you give me advice about this? And I'll be like, this week's really bad. I'll try to get back to you this weekend. But if I don't, email me again. Because I'm going to forget about you, but you should not forget about me, and we'll kind of come together. Yeah. And I've started to get a system of how to take care of people, and I want to take care of people because I wouldn't be where I was if people didn't give me advice and look out for me and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's one of those things that, like, I'm glad I learned that really young, because there's a lot of comics I know that aren't that big, but they're doing stuff, and they could give a shit about other people's time. And it's like, people helped you get here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we like to help people. You like my transition?
Yeah, absolutely.
We like to help people. We're women of action.
Yeah, you're doing it.
Well, we like to inspire women, who are, trying to create these careers in media, and who may not necessarily have that mentoring, that guide, or know how to do it. And so we like to bring people like you, who go, oh, well, I did it, and here's how.
Yeah.
So, what kind of advice or tips do you have for women who want to mimic what you're doing?
I mean, it's funny. I wouldn't advise you to do this job.
Comedy or writing?
I
do a lot of things.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's all. For me, I don't advise anybody to do this if they're not 100% in. Like, if you just think it's fun or you want to try it out, by all means try it out. But it is so hard, even when you don't want to do anything else, that to just kind of be like I had a guy email me, this must have been like 6 years ago. He wrote a list of questions, and the last question was, is it worth it? And I said, because you even asked that question, you've already answered your own question. Yeah. The amount of work and the amount of pain and the amount of stress that goes into doing something like this is so insurmountable that it doesn't matter. You could be Louis C.K. It's never going to equal out to be a worth. It's too much. Even when you have accomplished every dream you thought you could with it, you have sacrificed and put yourself out there so much that it's never going to equal out. So you have to. It can't be about worth. It just has to be about, you want to do it. You want to do. Yeah, and I think that's for anything, regardless. I mean, I think some jobs might be easier than others, but as I do this, it has to be about wanting to be a good comic. And I mean, there's a lot of things in life that are hard. So for me, I think I naturally am a nice person, but as I get older, it is shedding. And I don't not want to be a nice person, but you start to get easily annoyed by people because you've been taken advantage of. So the same thing happens in comedy, where it's like, I want to be a good comic and I want to continue to be a good comic, but when it's not appreciated and people don't care how good you are and people are getting seen even though it has nothing to do with their comedy, it starts to play on you. But if your drive is always to be a good comic, you'll continue to do that no matter who's paying attention to you. So if your drive is to be a good person, you'll continue to do that no matter who steps on you or whatever.
Gosh, yes.
So it's caring about what you're doing rather than what you get from doing it.
Exactly. So if your base is always in the right place, it doesn't matter what struggle you'll go through. Not to say you aren't going to change, you're not going to go through struggles, but you'll push through it and you'll continue to always stay on that base. So for me, I would never advise anybody to do anything, let alone something like comedy or show business or writing, if they're not 100% willing to get their heart trampled on and still love it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That death to you part thing kind of has to apply.
Like, Liz,
any kind of creative thing, you have to you're giving so much of yourself and other people to just pick at and take pieces of and criticize, and you're just putting yourself out there so much that being a creative is like the hardest thing you could possibly do, but it's so worth it.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, like, you were just talking. I'm like, yes. I'm nodding my head. I'm like, yes, yes. Say it. This is really, like, that's real advice.
Yeah.
None of that, like, go for your dreams, go get it. No, you just got to kind of figure out if this is really what you want. Yeah. And that's the hard work.
Yeah. I mean.
And then you follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Through. And I think, and and I think you should try everything, and I think you should experiment. But like, the more I realize, like, doing quality work should be where your passion lies, and not just doing something that looks cool. And I think there's a lot of people playing this game that they're like, I would like to wear a leather jacket and not wake up early. And it's like that there's more to
Bada
it.
bing.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, to me, I find the people that kind of survive in this business, and it's a long business. Some people make it after a couple of years, some people don't make it for 20 years, some people never make it. So if the drive is always to just make quality work and be out there putting quality work out there, I think it resonates and it pushes forward, and you'll see what happens. You might not be Jim Gaffigan, you might not be Chris Rock,
I
but
love Jim Gaffigan.
he's so great. But like, that might not be where your career ends, but you'll still make an impact. You'll still be proud of what you do. Like, if I stop doing comedy tomorrow, I'm really proud of what I've done in the last 13 years. And it took a while, and I mean, I might not show anybody what I've done 6 years ago, but I like what I'm doing now, and I can walk away being like, you know what I mean? It didn't have to end somewhere for me to be proud of it.
Right.
It is where it is. And then
You like what you're doing. You like you. So
Yeah.
that's
You like
that's
every
awesome.
day.
It's awesome.
All of this.
I don't like every day.
You don't
but
like every day? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Speaking of her quality work and her comedy, let's listen to a little something.
Oh, goody.
It's called Feminist Sex Positions.
So I'm from a big Italian family. That's why I'm loud and I curse a lot. I'm actually the second oldest of 5 kids, and I'm really close with all my siblings. But I'm especially close with my little brother Sam. My little brother Sam is about 10 years younger than me. And the cool thing about my relationship with Sam is he's only known me as a comedian. And it's kind of influenced who I am as a person. I'm very honest with him. I always tell him how it is. I've never lied to him. And I always thought that was a beautiful part about our friendship, until pretty recently when I realized that we don't have boundaries, and those are important. And this is how I found out. So a couple months ago, my little sister, and my little brother were living together at the time, not too far from me. And I probably walked in on one of the weirder conversations for an older sister to walk in on. I walked in on my little brother telling my little sister, like, those funny sexual position jokes. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? They always have a title, like the rusty trombone. Yes, thank you for your input, sir. It's always something fucked up to women, like you come in her eye and it's called the pirate. Shit like that. So this is the one I walked in on. This is the one he was telling my sister. It's a dude fucking a girl from the back. That dude leaves. Another dude starts fucking her. But the first guy goes in front of a window, waves to her, and it's called the poltergeist. And he's laughing, and he's laughing, and he's like, isn't that funny, Liz? That's so funny. Isn't that funny? You're a comedian. Isn't that funny? That's so funny. And I was like, no. I've been in a male-dominated field for 12 years. I've heard every fucked up thing you can do to a woman, and it's always something that ruins her hair, and I'm not okay with it anymore. I really care about my hair. So I decided, as somebody that essentially travels the world and does spoken word, that it's kind of my responsibility to spread feminist sexual positions. So I have a lot of free time. I came up with 3. Position number 1 is a dude going down on a woman. She squirts in his face. He learns to respect women. It's called the 19th Amendment. Save your energy. There's 2 more. Keep going. Position number 2 is a woman riding a dude. She gets him about 30% away from an orgasm, but she gets up and leaves. It's called the Equal Pay Act. And position number 3 is my favorite. It's just a woman masturbating in a kitchen. A dude walks in sad. It's called Make Your Own Dinner. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I've been looking at you ever since we started playing the clip. You look so uncomfortable listening to yourself.
Yeah, I don't like it. And it's funny because I'm working on like 10 minutes of new material, and I have to, like, I record it and then I listen to it like sometimes a day later, sometimes like weeks later. And the whole point is to like any new tags, because you just kind of talk out of your ass and then like fix it. And I hate it. I hate it. I mean, it is. I was just telling my roommate the other day, who's also a comedian, I was like, you know, if I would just do this on time, like if I just recorded it and then like a half hour before my set or an hour before my set, listen to it, write my new things, my jokes would be fixed so much quicker, but I will find any reason not to listen to the recordings.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I get it.
I hate it so much.
Is it your voice or is it your material?
It's mostly like this is a very egotistical business, so I know I have an ego, but it's also like I don't want to listen to myself. Like,
Oh my God! Yes, I get it. I get it.
and then I'm very much a perfectionist, so everything I say dumb or nitpick, like, you know, like I was trying to search for, like, I have a new joke about I'm getting like cockier as I read more and as I have more self-esteem, I guess. I've become bitchier. But I talk down to a doctor, so I have this joke about talking down to a dermatologist. And I was like, I just read enough books that I'm just like Goodwill Hunting it through my life. But I couldn't figure out that phrasing. So like I'm listening to a recording where like I couldn't figure out, like I couldn't find the movie title. And as I listened to myself struggle, I was like, fast forward. I can't do this.
It's kind of like, oh.
Yeah, like you
I
almost
get
like
it.
watching a baby version of yourself where you're just like one foot in front of the other. How do you not know that?
This is how I feel when I edit these podcasts. Just so you know. I'm like, I'm not listening to me. I'm listening to Lenina and her friend.
Yeah.
This is not Laura.
Yeah.
Fast forward,
I'm
fast
trying to think,
forward.
what was the fancy way they said your name?
Laura.
Laura.
Oh my God.
He's so Cosmopolitan and Feministing shared this great clip, and they've been calling you a feminist comedian.
Yeah.
What's that like?
It's so funny to me
fancy.
because it's like I am a feminist, but when you put that in front of my title, it was funny because I even said, like, I kind of made a joke about it, and then of course I have all this feminist fans who are like, what's wrong with that? They did it. I was like, I am not fighting being a feminist. I am not. I hate how like they just jump down your throat. That's not the problem. I am also but you know what I mean? Like I will group all feminists.
You people.
But you know, to me it's like I'm also dyslexic. I'd rather you call me a dyslexic comedian because then when I spell everything wrong, nobody has to be mean to me. But like to call me a feminist comedian means everything's going to be filtered out by being a feminist, and that's not how comedy works. There's several filters, and my jokes are filtered at sometimes through one of them, through several of them, through, you know what I mean? So I always think of it like I like Instagram, so I would think it's like if you have like a Hudson and like, you know, like a lo-fi, you're going to get a different image of if it's just regular. So sometimes my jokes are filtered from being a woman. Sometimes they're filtered from being from New Jersey. Sometimes they're filtered as being a short person. Sometimes they're filtered by being an older sister, a short person, and a feminist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just to say I'm a feminist limits what I can talk about. So as a comedian, that's a much broader title for me because my whole job is be funny. My job is to be funny. At the end of the day, whatever comes out of my mouth, as long as I'm funny, I've accomplished my job. But when you call me a feminist comedian, now I have a propaganda or a job title that is now limited where I have to say something about women or I have to be and it limits me because I'm going to say some ignorant shit. I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
And I'm not perfect. And I'm 29 and I make mistakes and I'm going to contradict myself, and to limit me that way is to tell me that I have to represent something at all times. And that's the biggest problem with fame now and Twitter and everybody recording shows is we make mistakes. We say dumb things, but we have to be able to say dumb things because that's where gold comes out of and that's where ideas come from. And nobody's ever said everything perfect all the time. So I don't want to be limited that way. Even just being a comedian, I'm going to say stuff that isn't funny. I have to work through my ideas to find out what's funny about it. So I just don't want to be limited. Yes, I'm a feminist, but I'm not a feminist comedian. To me, it's a huge difference.
Well, because male comedians, they're never called, you know,
Heterosexual, you know what I mean, or
gay comedian, or you know, I don't even know, like.
But it would be like if
Gothic
you said
comedian.
Exactly, like you wouldn't say this next comic's a black comedian. You just kind of see it. That's why I always get like upset when people are like, this next comic's a woman. They'll find out pretty quickly. We don't need to warn them. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just this is my job title. and everybody knows that they're coming to see this, but they'll find out that I'm a feminist through my material. They're going to find out that I like cats. They're going to find out I'm a mess. They're going to find out I'm from New Jersey. They'll find all this out, and they'll make their own assessment if it's something they enjoy or not. But I don't want to be limited by only being allowed to talk about stuff in a certain filter, because I don't always function under that filter.
Yeah.
And to say that you're a feminist all the time is to be ridiculous. Just like I say stupid shit all the time. I say stuff.
Yeah.
I say gay, that's gay. I feel bad when I say
I
it.
do
It still
too.
comes
Oh my
out.
God.
And I feel dumb. Just like I say that's retarded, and you go, yes, that's I grew up in the 90s,
Yeah.
and now I understand that it could hurt
Yeah.
people's feelings, and I'll do my best, but to then give me a label and then I can't ever make a mistake is ridiculous. I'm going to make mistakes. Sorry, I get ranty. It really pisses me off.
No, I was like, yes,
I agree.
yes, snaps. If like snaps can translate on audio, I don't know if y'all can hear this. Snaps. I was doing this whole time. I was like, yes. Go, girl. Tell them.
But I do appreciate their support. It's like, Everyday Feminist is what broke it, and then Feministing and Cosmo, Mick.com, Huffington Post Women. Like, I'm very fortunate that all these people that support, and I'm glad it definitely got me a lot of fans and stuff. But I wish, just like I wish people would fact check sometimes. I wish they would have been like, well, what do you see yourself as?
Ooh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think I would know myself better than you do. You watched one joke. I have a whole album of jokes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I have hours worth of material. You saw one joke and you decided that you knew what my perspective is, when I think everybody filters through several perspectives. As soon as I have a baby, I've just added a perspective.
That's true.
You know what I mean? As soon as I trip on a sidewalk, I'm now embarrassed and I have a new perspective. So to think that you only function under one perspective at one time is pretty ignorant. And so, yes, I'm a woman. Nothing's ever going to happen where I'm not a woman, at least that I know of. So yes, it's a pretty huge perspective, and I'm a woman that supports other women. But that being said, it's one of many filters. And that's something that I really talk about a lot in comedy, which is, like, I have a friend that was an Asian comedian that only, like, it was always about being Asian. And I was like, it's so limited. You're a sister, you're a woman, you're a New Yorker, you're a friend, you have a job. I mean, you have a dog. Like, you have all these things that make you so much. Same thing with a lot of female comics only talking about sex. It drives me nuts. It's like, do you just have sex and then tell jokes?
Yeah.
Like, it makes me crazy because I have
makes me
jokes.
crazy too.
I have jokes about sex. It's a part of my life, but I also have jokes about running and you know what I mean, and being dyslexic and dieting and being in New York. Like, it's all those things are a part of me. So to only talk about one area of my life, there can be ones that you focus on more because they're more important to you. I mean, I talk.
Because they're funnier.
They have more. I mean, I don't know how much I can talk about feminism and make it funny. You know what I mean? This just happened to be.
People are so touchy about it. You people.
Yeah, exactly. You people.
I'm one of those you people. So
Yeah.
You're talking on like the Whoa podcast, the
Yeah,
Women of
I know.
Action
Yeah.
podcast.
No, but it becomes,
I am. I
when
can
it
be-
comes to feminism, people are very like stuck in this like a feminist is this and a feminist is that, and I don't think you can define a feminist. A feminist, if there is any definition, it's just a woman who believes that everyone should be equal.
Yeah, and then when you have to dress a certain way or talk about a certain stuff or not talk about other stuff, you start to put yourself in a box. Even though you just got this box about women are now equal, you've now put me in another box. Stop putting me in boxes. You know?
I want to get out of here.
Yeah.
Get me out of this box.
I'm so inspired by you, Liz.
Yeah.
I'm so
Really?
serious because it's like you've got like this high like emotional quotient. Well, you know, IQ, EQ, and all that. I'm like, that really like proves my theory about like I really think some of the comedians I follow are just some of the smartest people like I know, and I'm like, wow.
It's very nice of you to say.
Well, it takes a whole different kind of thinking. Like, you got to be somewhere else in your life
I also
to
think
be able to do that.
one of the things I've learned that is helpful to me is that because I'm constantly looking for material, I'm constantly trying to grow and I'm constantly making myself open. And I think most people do the opposite, which is I just want to get comfortable. I want to find a man or a woman to settle down with. I want to have a job that I like, and I want to be in a house that I'm comfortable in. And you're constantly putting yourself in a place where I'm going to eat the foods that I like.
Yeah.
And it's comfortable, but it also limits your perspective and understanding other people. And you have a peanut allergy? That's weird. I've never had a peanut allergy. Okay, some people have different allergies than
Right.
you. Some
Yeah.
people.
Right.
So it's the same idea where because I'm always looking for new experiences every day and putting myself in new experiences and traveling to new places and talking to different people, my perspective is opened up more, and it has to open up more or I become boring pretty much. That's why like a lot of like comics become celebrities and then they only talk about the new, like everything becomes comfortable. People are opening doors for you and paying for things, and you're in nice hotels. Things aren't uncomfortable anymore, therefore you don't have anything to talk about.
You don't have anything to stretch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That stretching
Yeah.
is so important, not only creatively, but just to be a person. Because I've had different experiences, I can understand different people's experiences. So I read a lot, which kind of opens the door for things that I might never experience. I might never go to Africa. So these are experiences that I might not ever have. So I'm looking at somebody else's life because they're across the world and it costs a lot of money to go there. But I also have experiences that I can have. So like going to Europe or seeing my friend, or I might never have kids, but I have enough friends that have had kids. You start to stretch by just putting yourself in those experiences.
And just being uncomfortable makes you grow and makes you learn things.
Absolutely. Even if it's like, I never want to be here again.
Yeah, exactly.
You still learn something. Like I was super uncomfortable in Europe. I mean, I had a friend that lived in Sierra Leone for over a year. And I was there for her. I mean, I used to buy calling cards. I Skyped her all the time. I've never been to Africa. I've never even traveled by myself like that before. But I did my best to be a good friend to her. And when I went to Europe and I was struggling in Europe, which is not Africa, is not by myself, and I'm performing. She was like making a youth center. I remember texting her and I was like, was I a good friend to you like 5 years ago when you were living alone in Africa, like in bed bugs and having like women like make you soup because you didn't know where to get groceries? She's like, you were great. I was like, good, because I had no idea how to help you. Because I'm now uncomfortable in a place where I shouldn't be uncomfortable and struggling and realizing this is really hard to be on your own and do new things and not know how to speak the language and trying to, it's like, I was stretching, and that was a month and a half. So to me, my best friend is like amazing to me, but I started to realize like, oh, it explains why. I always said my friend experiences everything 4 years before me. I mean, every bad thing that has happened to me, it's happened to her 4 years before. Every panic attack, every anxiety, every boy, every whatever. And to me, she's always stretched before me. And I've only started to learn in the last couple of years how to make myself uncomfortable in a positive way.
That's like, yeah, no, but I'm like, yeah, it's, no, it's just like
Linnea
there's so
looks
many
like
parallels.
she's at church.
Yeah.
Yeah, hello, snap. It's true. I've been uncomfortable for like the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like
I've always been
I
uncomfortable.
feel like I'm going crazy, but I'm when I look at myself today and compare myself to 5 years ago, I don't recognize myself. My life is
Absolutely.
completely different. I'm doing completely different things, and if I were doing the same things today that I was doing 5 years, well, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
It would be impossible.
Yeah.
There were just so many lessons to learn, so many things, so many mountains I had to move in my own head,
Yeah.
so many things I had to do
Yeah.
that I would not have been here then.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean.
So never
Absolutely.
fear. Never fear.
No, I was scared through all of it.
It'll all be
Scared.
okay.
I was a scaredy cat.
Yeah.
all a-
I mean,
a learning process.
Yeah.
I think that's always weird when people expect you to be like the idea of courage or being brave is like not having fear. Where it's like I do tons of things where I'm like, oh, I can't wait to mess this up.
Exactly.
But you do it and you get better, and like even like I had a hard time in Europe just because it was too many things outside my comfort zone. But I'm probably going back in October, and it's like, all right, I've learned like 4 very valuable lessons. I'll probably have to fuck up a couple more times, and then eventually, like just like now, like there's stuff. I mean, I'm driving to Ohio like next weekend, and I remember a 10-hour drive. Before was like, oh my God, is there even enough snacks to get through this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now I wouldn't even think twice of it. Like half the drives I do, half the experiences, doing 45 minutes, doing an hour, like that was the most daunting thing even just 6 years ago. And now it's like, I'll look at my watch. I did an hour and 20 minutes in Luxembourg, which is a country I didn't even know existed until I got booked there. And I remember being like, oh, I'd never done an hour and 20 minutes before. That's so crazy to me that I'm like, oh, I can do that. I just learned.
Yeah.
You just stretched.
Yeah, stretching.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, we learned a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming.
No, don't go.
She's gotta go. She's gotta go.
Okay, fine.
But Let's give her some plugs. Give her some plugs, Lenina.
Oh. Liz's album is called Emotionally Exhausting. Available now on iTunes, Amazon, and cdbaby.com. Her website is Liz.
Miele.
Do I spell this out?
Spell it.
LizMiele.com.
Perfect.
And if you like what you hear, let us know. Connect with us on Facebook, Women of Action with Lenina. We've got more podcasts coming soon, and we've been working really hard to bring you some new webisodes of our award-winning video series,
Nice.
hosted by Lenina Mortimer,
Lovely.
Directed by
me.
Laura Miele.
Well, season
Humble
2 is
brag.
going to be bigger and better than ever, and it's coming up in 1 week. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/woe with Lenina, WOA with LENINA. Links are in the description below, in case we botched that.
And we probably did.
All right. Thank you, Liz.
Thanks for having me.
We love
Thank
you.
you.
Aw,
We're going to go to the cat cafe.
we should.
Whoa Podcast is produced by myself, Lenina Mortimer, and Laura Miele. If you like what you hear, find us and share us on YouTube and Facebook.